Warning: this show contains lots of vulgarity, questionable content, and the Angry Jackalope might just be a crazy motherfucker. You've been warned.
What's up, YouTube? Angry Jackalope, Rob Ricks. I'm back with another story time. So when I was a kid growing up, I went from being a real cool cat in California to being fucking uber nerd in Hawaii. It was different culture, different this, different that, and it really freaked me the fuck out. And I had this huge bout of depression I was dealing with because all my friends were back home and I was in fucking Hawaii, and I was having a hard time acclimating and transitioning from Howley boy to local brother, right? So one of the things I did to pass the time was book clubs, and it was via these book clubs that I got exposed to one of my favorite authors of all time, Roger Zelazny. And I'm hoping I'm saying his name correct, his last name correct, because I've only ever seen it spelled and I've never ever heard it. So, I've always in my mind said Roger Zelazny. And the series that I'm talking about is the Amber series. And if they ever bless me and make a fucking epic movie out of it, my lord, I will be happy. That is something on my bucket list. I'd love to see that as a movie. Nine Princes in Amber. It had a main character named Corwin, and it was great. It was magical, mystical. It's just like, what's going on, the mystery, the intrigue, it's like you look at all of the backstabbing and shit that happens in Game of Thrones, and Roger Zelazny was doing some stuff like that with the princes and princesses of Amber. I mean, it was like really crazy. This is some shit I had never ever been exposed to, and I can honestly say that his writing style is probably the one that influenced me the most as a writer. So Roger Zelazny was one of the most influential writers for me ever, followed by Fred Saberhagen and Michael Moorcock. Michael Moorcock and his Elric series. Man, that right there was another epic storyline. And then Alan Dean Foster. Alan Dean Foster was the last one that kind of influenced the way that I wrote and the way that I approached crafting stories. And the sad thing is, the only author recently that has tickled me creatively that I feel is on par with those writers as far as the way he gets me excited about storylines would be Scott Sigler. And unfortunately for me, Roger Zelazny's dead. I think Michael Moorcock's still alive. Alan Dean Foster's still alive. I think Fred Saberhagen's gone. But I realized, so I'm going this route too because this is part of a tragic realization at one point. As a kid growing up, I thought if you wrote a book and you wrote something, it was there forever, right? I thought, man, you write a book, man, it's like a form of becoming immortalized. And Fred Saberhagen, for example, has a storyline, a bunch of different books dealing with these heroes, these characters, real life people that are playing the equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons that ends up in the storyline. And this is the book right here. And I was at a loss trying to find these books. I was trying to recapture some of the books that I grew up with, and I was searching Google one day exhaustively. And there's another Fred Saberhagen, and he's also an author, but he writes different books. And I was like heartbroken because I couldn't find this guy's shit. I couldn't find his work, and that's when the realization hit me. We are now at a point where anybody can write a book. Anybody can do an EPUB. Anybody can actually self-publish. And when you go to somewhere like a library, for example, there's limited space. And every time I go to the library, I see these books that they're selling. They're selling them for pennies on a dollar. Out with the old, in with the new. And that out with the old really bothered me because it fucked with my whole paradigm of, oh, once you write a book, you're immortalized forever. No, not really. Um, so anyway, it's just sad to me because less and less people care about the printed word. And as an author myself, a person who loves writing, um, it kind of sucks, right? It kind of sucks because really good writers that put pioneered pioneered this whole sci-fi fantasy genre are now disappearing to obscurity. And I'm wondering to myself, like, thankfully I go to Barnes and Nobles and I look for Roger Zelazny and his stuff is still there. I could still find like the big giant digested version of Amber that has everything. And unfortunately, he died before finishing the secondary Amber series. And I think his son tried to pick the mantle up, but I've never read any of his son's stuff, so I can't tell you if that satisfies that or brings closure to this whole story arc. And I think there was like a Kickstarter or something else they were trying to do to get it funded, but unfortunately, I don't think that worked out. Or it might actually still be going on. I don't know. I gotta double check. But anyway, you know, these guys helped shape my thinking and my stylization and things of that nature. And the thought of them disappearing to obscurity just fucking terrifies me. Because what do you have to do now to be saved in the history books for all time? You have to do some horrible form of atrocity. You know what I mean? You have to go and, you know, blow up a building and now you're immortalized as this fucking psycho that did it. But these guys that created worlds out of their imagination that enriched thousands of people's lives and probably pioneered different things. Like I think Fred Saberhagen, for example, he had these vampire novels predated, you know, Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice or anything else. And you know, he has one of his first stories with the Dracula storyline was recording historic accounts of how he came out about being Dracula and stuff. So anyway, it's just kind of crazy to me. And I wanted to share with you guys some of the authors that really meant a lot to me, as well as authors today that are very influential to me. You know, it's crazy now. Every so often I message Scott Sigler and we might have a couple of back and forths on Facebook or whatever else. Nothing super deep or meaningful, just kind of letting him know, hey, I'm a fan of your work and I really think it's really good. And, you know, he'll reply back with the obligatory, hey, right on, man, fucking A, you know. But it's still something, you know, my daughter got to meet her favorite author and I was very happy to make that happen. You know, for her to be able to meet her favorite author was a fucking cool thing. And she got to meet him at Comic-Con. And, you know, I said, get over here. Let me take a picture with you guys. You know, take a picture of you guys together and stuff. And it was cool. And I think that memory is going to live in my daughter's mind forever, you know. And just to see her like, oh, my God, you know, you're the guy that wrote this. And that was cool. You know, now it's like, I mean, there was a time growing up in the 70s where if you were an author, there was respect. You know, people were like, oh man, you're an author, you're like a celebrity, you know? And now that's reserved for just the uber writers, you know, your Pattersons, the Stephen Kings, the, you know, I'm drawing a blank now. Or you're something like, fuck me, 50 Shades of Grey. This fucking... Or you're on Oprah's book thing and suddenly you're just celebrity because all of the sheeple are like, oh, Oprah says it's great. We should all read this. Instead of going out and finding books that you actually like, you know, organically online and by other groups. It's just, I don't know. The whole state of reading today is different than it was when I was growing up, and it's really it's disappointing to me. Anyway, that I didn't want to be downer, just wanted to shine some light and tell you I have my favorite authors, Roger Zelazny. I mean, he is the guy. He's the one that I have my most fond memories reading his books, and they were these little small books, and I remember getting them inside of what was that bookstore? Was it B. Dalton Books or something like that? I can't remember now. Oh my lord, it's been so long, but I'd get it, and it had this whole fantasy section. They were all just these little spines, and I'd get the books, and fresh, brand new, and I'd open it, and I'd flip the pages, and there was a smell. There was a smell that books had, and it was just a paper stock. I get that, but that smell, if I ever smell it now, it just takes me to a fucking happy place. And unfortunately, with our kids, you know, they got these e-readers or they're on the net or whatever, and they're reading, and it's like, it's not the same. You know, it's not. You don't have that tactile, magical portal to another place. You know what I mean? So I've been slowly but surely collecting books. I go on eBay, I find them, I hunt them down, and you know, for me it's great because some of these great books, shit, man, I see them in a bargain bin, fucking 99 cents. I'm like, fuck, are you kidding me? And I'll save them. I'll rescue those fucking books and I'll get them, and I got them in my library. But yeah, so anyway, what are some of you guys' favorite authors? You know, I mean, some of you new jacks, some of you youngins now, you know, I probably won't know anybody that you're talking about. But I'm always open to suggestions. Like I said, Scott Sigler, he writes some really crazy shit. He writes some crazy shit. I'm almost done with one of his books that is just fucking ridiculous. But yeah, Scott Sigler, he was influential in me seeing the power of podcasts. So anyway, Scott, if you happen to be watching this, dude, you're the motherfucking man, dude, and I am a huge fan, and thank you for your work. All right, so that's it for now, guys. That's going to be it for this story time. If you like it, please subscribe, tell all your friends, share this far and wide, and always, as always, please, be good to each other.